Hello. I just before we get started, can we please give it up for the guys who actually got the conference working? I think it's amazing. So, distributed blocking and other security fun. This will be kind of a framework, so I want to get your head booted in the morning, and we'll see how that plays out. So, who am I? I'm this bald German. I'm Dirty Dev on Twitter and very much on Twitter, very active on Twitter. I don't know how it happened, but it happened. I'm an ops guy, so this is actually my first security conference. But this is a bit too formal. What the hell? This is BSides, so I'm also a biker. I'm doing stuff with the cloud, and we're a startup from Germany, and what we do is, how did I get into security? Who can tell me in German, who can tell me what this tells me? What does this mean? What could this mean? No, it actually means there are images being transmitted over non-security line. The funny thing is, I don't know if you can read it, the article says that your stuff is being more secure within Docker, so I don't know how Docker played out in the security community yet, but we're constantly making fun of it. But the guys, they try their best just with Tor. Yeah, well. So what did an ops guy do on a security conference? Well, just like with everyone else, it started with Twitter. And this horribly exploded. And other stuff happens on Twitter as well. When some American guys asked me to provide them German locks, just the stuff that commonly gets sold in Germany, then this got a little bit out of hand, and suddenly you realize you're a lock dealer. It's a tricky thing with Twitter. So just before we get started, I work for a startup, so you gotta give that one a shout out. Instana, it's called. What we do, we are an APM, so application performance monitoring. Don't know if you ever used one. Monitoring is kind of a shitty field, and a big unsolved problem which we're trying to attack, because basically this is what you're being told should be monitoring when it's really not. So we try to tackle this problem. A lot of the existing ones are either open source, and they're pretty much useless because the time is being put into the wrong places. So what we do, we provide you a 3D map with your machines. These are little boxes on the hillside. In these boxes there are little sub-boxes with applications in them. With stuff like MySQL or an Nginx, they get read when something's not right. And these are the kind of informations that you need. What do you normally do when you set up open source stuff? You define thresholds, which doesn't help you at all. That gives you stuff like informations like your CPU load is high. And CPU load is high can be anything, and it doesn't tell you that. And that's why we're building knowledge into this thing, so it can actually later tell you that you either have a split brain, or that one thing happened when one of the data centers of Amazon got burning in fire. these are the kind of informations you need to have when you're being woken up at 2 a.m. in the morning by PagerDuty. Your CPU load is high is not the thing you want to read when you just got woken up. So we come totally batteries included, so you really don't have to do anything. You just deploy the Java agent to all of your machines. I said Java, yeah. The first person who can tell me why we need to deliver this thing in Java gets a beer. Why? When you monitor software in Java, why do we have to pick Java? Just, okay. Huh? Yeah. When you want to monitor a Java process, you need to have Java, otherwise you can't get the metrics out of it. So that's basically why you have to pick Java. You throw a Java agent on all of your machines and they show up. Then you can get all the information you need on the machine, on the software it is, and all the metrics it has. And we kind of we build a knowledge graph of these machines and how they interact with each other. And as soon as you do this, you can do amazing stuff like, well, what the competition does is basically provide graphs, but this is boring. It might indicate an error when something occurs, what might have happened, but other stuff is more fun, like graphing all of your logical connections from one point to another, and you can do other funny stuff like show me traffic. And when we have those logical connections between applications in your cluster, you can do funny stuff like we also give you traces. Another problem that hasn't been solved properly yet by our competition. When something occurs like an error, where one of your machines gets unavailable, which happens all the time in the cloud, and especially in US East 1, when you want to freak out an ops guy, just say US East 1. It will probably show an error here, and you can see what happened, and this will be the information that you need when you're being woken up at 2 a.m. in the morning. And yeah, this pretty much says all about Docker. Yeah, it's our product. And our incidents are, as we build this knowledge graph of your applications, we can not only figure out what might be the indicator, but also what might be in where else the problem can occur. So we have a CPU weight that's high on one machine, and we see it's connected a lot from a logical perspective to MongoDB, and it says that this MongoDB is going to maybe run out of memory in 2 minutes just because it's being fired on with requests it cannot process. But back to the presentation. And yeah, we basically support almost anything, in case you wonder. So, what do I do all day? Actually, I'm a classical ops guy in the cloud world. So, what do I do all day? The one thing comes with another. Can somebody tell me which output this is, of which program? this rainbow text. It's Kitchen CI. That is a Ruby program that you can use to fire up cloud machines and test your stuff on. And when you're testing cluster stuff, you have to get a lot of machines up. And yeah, this is the reason why I drink, basically. Up there, which program is this? You should know that one. I just want to get your head started in the day. It's Jenkins. It's a Jenkins pipeline. So, Consul. Why Consul? What's Consul? It's a service discovery tool. It's written in Go. And you can throw it on your machines, and your machines then later have the ability to say, which IP does the cluster software I need to access right now run on? This is one of the use cases, but it comes with all sorts of funny things. And it's a distributed service discovery tool, so it's also a key value store. You can throw informations in it and access it via JSON. Speaks HTTP. It's also coming with service health checking, and it's modern, so it's, as I said, written in Go. Just throw a binary on all of the machines, and it's comfortable, and it's actually working. It's when you're a startup and you have to shift between different technologies all day to see what works, you really can rely on a software that doesn't break or breaks for obvious reasons. And when these reasons get more and more obvious, a software gets usable for a startup. It works across availability zones. This is not Amazon speak, not cloud speak, but can be in the traditional world. And it's being used by very large companies like DigitalOcean run their service discovery with Consul. I think they made a kernel patch to raise the ARP cache in the Linux kernel, just for that. As I said, you write a bit of JSON, and I'm apologizing for the bad readability. I didn't know how the light setup will be. You just throw a random, throw some JSON in it and use the binary, give it the JSON, and bam. You also get this nice looking web interface, which you can use, but don't have to. Basically, it's just HTTP. So the clusters speak with each other, and your machines can access the information locally. So it's written by Hashicorp. It's a startup that writes nice software. Maybe one of you recognizes one of these logos. Anyone? Maybe you know Vagrant? That one? Ah, okay. Yeah. These are all tools that help ops not having so much despair, and they're all pretty good actually. So first of all, you install a server. But you don't install one server because it's distributed software. One server might fail, and then your information might get lost. So you don't install one server, you install 3 servers, at least. Well, there's this distributed software fun where one has actually needs at least 5 minutes to explain why installing an even number of servers is a bad idea. But it's basically just to have it reliable. you should install 3 or 5 servers in multiple availability zones. And how would you do that? You go to the Consul.io page and download the pre-built Go binary. Yeah, it's basically code to bash, but if you want to talk to me about the security of package managers, I think curl to bash is maybe one of our best options, because have you ever tried to assign a RPM file? It's well, sad. You download the thing, you write some JSON. It basically just said where you can store data, how much servers you expect to bootstrap, when the bootstrapping happens between the servers, and then you write config for your clients, as all sorts of information. But this is just trivial stuff. And throw in boxes with agents. Your cluster is set up, you're good to go, and what can you do now? You can ask via local HTTP, where is my Kafka? Or where's my Elasticsearch? Where is my application firewall? You can check if via local HTTP, is my stuff healthy? Is maybe my web server not available on port 80? You have all sorts of options there. You can even throw in a bash script that gets fired every define a time interval. With Vault, another one of their products is a security store. It also got audited and got pretty good ratings. That can also generate OpenSSL certificates on the fly. It's an amazing tool. And it also comes with a command pipeline. That means you can define watches that if somewhere in my keys value store, with this prefix gets changed, then do that. And this is being built into very much products. Almost any of the CAPS vendors have one. Like Ansible Tower, you can throw money at Chef, you can throw money at Puppet, you can throw money at SaltStack if someone would actually use it. And they solve this problem. They give you a command pipeline here, you get it for free. But yeah, this is BSides. So DevOps. What does DevOps mean? DevOps means also that we might just as well, for our purpose, which in this case is security, use the tools that ops guys use anyways. Maybe for a different purpose. Maybe you need to up the cluster, but it's doable, and you have the knowledge in-house, which can be quite a benefit. And basically, all we want to do is this. So, yeah. DevSecOps. What do? We do this. We use this tool for sec stuff. So the first thing I came up with was just this trivial thing. Does someone actually recognize this logo? No? Fail to ban? Rings a bell? Yeah? Does IP tables ring a bell? This awful API that no one can come up with an instant answer of how can I block this IP, because you cannot memorize all the parameters and the order of the parameters. Fail to ban basically just watches your logs, and if something weird occurs that shouldn't occur, then it goes there and blocks this IP where this originates from. Of course, there's lots of different log layouts that you have to specify where is the IP and where is the indicator and stuff, but it basically just does that, and it does it pretty good. It's doing a good job. So we're using these Consul watches, which I talked about. You can set in Consul, you can set these watches on the key value store. You can set it on changing of service health. You can set it on entering of new machines in the cluster, entering of new servers in the cluster, almost anything. These watches are integratable into the JSON config as you set up the cluster. They're integratable into Consul via the CLI on demand. Like you can, when you use Jenkins or something similar, you can build a job around this and let the sec guys enter rules in there, and then it just bootstraps it into the cluster. It's triggerable all across the cluster, and this is what we're using for this particular use case. It's basically, you can fire off just a script, and this is super useful because this script can do anything you want. It can even register some new users in your website. It's anything. And therefore it's as powerful as you are. All your options that you're doing manually on the CLI, you can just throw it in there. And it's reliable, means that the trigger will, the watch will trigger. And if it triggers once, it triggers reliably on all of the machines. And if they're not available, it triggers afterwards. And it's exchangeable. You can flip the scripts and give them different names and add new ones, remove old ones. And it's cheap, means it's not a lot of effort that has to be put in for adding a watch. Fail to ban. I can't come up with an operating system that doesn't come with it, come bundled with it, and I'm a Gentoo user, so yeah. It utilizes IP tables. Yeah, this is a trigger for some people. Really, ops guys get disgusted when you say IP tables. There are a lot of existing plugins that tell fail to ban how the log files are being structured, so it can pull the information from Elasticsearch. It can pull the information push the information into Elasticsearch. It really comes batteries included, and you probably already use it, though you don't know you use it. But that's another DevOps thing, and it's no biggie to integrate. It's really just a package to install. And when I'm talking at a security event, I'm talking to people probably using huge and probably pretty expensive firewall stuff. And this is also just because it's just a script triggerable from the outside. So what do we do? Here I have this Instana installation that says I'm not monitoring yet, but that's not important. Important is that before that I have a login field. And in this login field I enter my credentials, and I enter them wrong. And this, of course, triggers a log entry. And in this log entry I can see that that someone entered wrong credentials, and this caused this log entry, and this comes from that IP and caused this HTTP status. So basic stuff, we all seen that. So the next thing is we're writing a fail to ban entry that just tells fail to ban how these log entries look like, where the important information, and then fail to ban can go on and do its stuff, block the IP when it entered the wrong credentials for 3 times, and this IP can either, it's your choice, not access the port of the website again. You can manage to get them have a login lock, or you can just ban the IP from the machine in general, so it cannot access it anymore anyways. But that's basically just simple stuff. There's fail to ban has this CLI that you can use while you're developing these regular expressions, because regular expressions, you'll make errors, you won't see them. So this tool is pretty handy. You give it a log file, and you give it a regex, and you say, look for this, and then you say, and then you see it didn't found anything, and then you see that you made an error in writing the regex. It's called fail to ban regex. And yeah, it's just, well, the thing is, I want to, it's still in the morning, still booting, so I want to know from you, having the information that watches do one, you can use watches to trigger one thing all across the cluster, and having this information that we're using fail to ban to block an IP, what is obviously the thing that I want to know? Or what is obviously the next screenshot you would see? Huh? No. You use fail to ban an IP, and you use Consul to watch stuff all across the cluster. So what is obviously the thing that comes now? No. You get this IP block from one IP, and all machines block it instantly. You also have this key store. So you can either use the Consul Watch in the key store, enter a new IP into the key store, and all the machines read it from that. Or you use the watch on the trigger of the fail to ban, and all IPs block it instantly. So that was basically the thing I was trying to say now. So that was basically it. So the thing is, why I actually gave this talk is to make people aware of this program, because it has all the abilities you can come up with. You can do this exact the same thing with your own security appliances. And yeah, it's really no biggie to set up it. Bringing up a new cluster really just takes 10 minutes. Reading the API takes maybe 30 minutes, and then you're all set. This regex can, though, if you're using fail to ban, cause pretty much a big headache because regex, but it's basically, I just want to make you aware of the program. So, are there any questions? I wanted to leave some time for that. And especially since this is not an ops conference, did I make myself clear? Are there any questions? Yeah. Are there other security? Yeah, well, you can distribute, what do you call it? Threat intel. You can distribute bad IPs. You can, well, this is basically the thing you should have come up with, being sec persons, because I want to know from you what the use cases are. I just gave you the basic features, and the thing I wanted to spread is the word that it's really, the pipeline is powerful, but it's as powerful as you are. And if you have those things like a mail cluster, like a security appliance, they're all just being triggerable either via a CLI or API, and it's just just a script. So just this script is really the most powerful thing here. And having those informations being spread, distributed, and reliably is a very powerful feature. So well, this is the first thing I came up with. Give me 2 beers and I give you probably 30 more. But it's really you guys that can probably come up with a good use case. But I just wanted to spread the word about this thing. So, questions? Anything? Yeah. We use Consul, and I'm working for a startup, so when you work for a startup, you show what it does, so everyone knows that it exists. Anything? Yeah? No, it uses the trigger is actually log files. Yeah, that's one way, or you can use any other appliance. Basically, you can tell it what to do in rules files written in their own weird CLI syntax, and you can show. It's also just a script, so it can do almost anything. You can send your security appliance just an IP and via HTTP perhaps, and this gets blocked. And the thing you're using Consul for is then to block it instantly all across the cluster. Yeah, fail to ban is one of those things that a lot of people know when they touch Linux boxes and maybe operate their own website, and it's a lot of fun. I really can recommend setting up a WordPress site on some shitty VPS server and enabling fail to ban and then see what happens. It's magic in the cloud. It's fun. Anything? Thanks, guys.